Welcome back to the Takeout. In case you're wondering, yes, the donut was delicious. Interesting stat. Florida has not elected a Democratic governor this century, but there have been some close calls. Races in 2010, 2014, and 2018 for governor, all decided by a percentage point or less. Now, there's an open seat race for governor next year, and David Jolly, who joins me now, hopes to turn the Democrats' somewhat dreary luck around. David, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Major. Thank you.
I want you to look at the screen because we have some voter registration numbers, one set from 2014 and one set from 2025. And the short bottom line story is massive shift toward the Republican Party from where it was in 2014 when you were elected to Congress. Why is that? What has happened? And how dangerous is that to you as you try to seek the governorship next year?
So one of the things I like about being a Democrat is we get to accept math. We don't challenge math, right? Those numbers are real. They're intimidating, right? And I don't know about the autopsy. I mean, certainly culturally things have changed. The two parties have gone different ways. Maybe there's been an underperformance by Florida Democrats. But here's what I know in this cycle, and this is why a Democrat can win statewide for the first time in maybe 30 years. I've been in Florida politics for that long. We can win statewide in this cycle, and here's why. I think we're in the midst of a generational change election cycle nationally, whether it's because it'll be the 6th year of Donald Trump or whether it's because people think we're going in the wrong way. We're already seeing in special elections a significant overperformance by Democrats. But we have not had an affordability crisis in Florida like we're having right now in probably 25 years. There's an affordability crisis in Florida right now that is hitting everybody.
Driven by?
Driven by largely access to housing and rents, but it is a property insurance crisis and a property tax crisis. It is hitting Republicans, Democrats, and independents. It's hitting people in every county, every race, every ethnicity. Everybody's hit by this affordability crisis. And this is where 30 years of Republican control matters, because I believe we're in a change election cycle. And honestly, Republican candidates are offering more of the same. They're doubling down. One of them even said today to the press, I want more of the same. No, Florida doesn't want more of the same. So I think in a change environment, if we take the Democratic values, this is important. This is not about changing Democratic values. We need a party that fights for an economy for all, a government that serves our seniors, our vets, invest in public education, a party that lifts everyone up, regardless of the color of your skin, who you love, who you worship. If we take those values, we will build other voters into our coalition. Only 40% of the state is registered Republican. There are plenty of voters available to us.
You were Republican for a very long time.
I was.
And when you were, you described yourself in the vernacular as a pro-life Republican.
I did.
Are you still? I know you're not a Republican, but where are you on that question?
So this is part of my journey, right? I'm a person of deep faith. I'm a preacher's kid. I hold my religious teachings very firmly. I don't like the labels. I guess I never did. When I was a Republican in Congress, I was the only Republican to vote against the Planned Parenthood investigation, to vote against rescinding money from reproductive care. I was the only Republican to do that because I was also trying to navigate how do we continue to provide reproductive services. But here's the most important thing. I've moved further. I'm for the codification of Roe and the Roe-Casey framework. But that is part of the strength of this campaign. I've been out of politics long enough to tell the truth. I care about the cheap hits. My opponents are already saying Jolly changed. Yes, I did. That's the strength of this case. I came into new information. The times have changed. People have changed. I have changed. I take my message of change as a badge of honor, and voters see that. And guess what? Voters have changed too. That's okay.
Someone who might be the Republican nominee, Congressman Byron Donalds, describes you as follows: as an anti-Trump radical leftist who wants to raise your taxes and keep the borders open.
Notice he didn't talk about reducing property insurance or solving the property tax crisis or investing in public schools or reducing gun violence. That's what the voters want to talk about. What that reflex from Byron showed me is he's not a serious candidate. He's not capable of being governor. He's not ready to take on the stewardship of the state. But also, Major, what's happening in Florida, there is a Republican circular firing squad, if you will. Ron DeSantis is trying to recruit anybody but Byron to run for governor. Byron Donald has his own problems within a Republican primary. I'm confident as David Jolly talking to the voters. I don't think Byron's so confident right now.
What about Casey DeSantis?
Well, see, look, there's a real scandal engulfing the governor and the first lady about whether they essentially redirected Medicaid money away from health care services and into their political committee. I think it's being covered up by Republican prosecutors. We'll see what happens. Look, every once in a while you get a whiff of corruption in a cycle. People see it and they know it. I love this cycle. We can win because there is an affordability crisis and a whiff of corruption coming out of Tallahassee.
Trump's win in Florida was a blowout. DeSantis' reelection was a blowout. You're talking about a change election cycle. You need tectonic shifting of plates politically in Florida, not just 2 or 3 points. You actually see that?
November, Donald Trump won by 14. Rick Scott got reelected by about the same. In 2 spring special elections for Congress this year, Democrats overperformed by 16. I'm okay with that math, but very importantly, we have to stay focused on Florida issues. It's a governor's race. It's not a federal race. If I'm talking about Donald Trump, we're losing. Republicans want this to be about Donald Trump. I want it to be about the affordability crisis, about meeting voters where they're at. If we do that, you'll see a race like Andy Beshear in Kentucky, Steve Bullock in Montana, a Bill Clinton 92 type race. We can be Democrats that are tough on crime, but instead of fighting communities like Republicans do, we're going to fight crime and lift up communities. We can be Democrats that go into South Florida and condemn communism and socialism, condemn dictators, but say we want fair capitalism for everybody. Where Republicans are okay with Florida being the home of the rich and the reckless, we want it to be a home for everybody. We will take that message, meeting voters on an affordability crisis. If Republicans want to talk about MAGA and the president, go for it. We're not going to do that.
What is the state of the Florida Democratic Party? It used to be formidable. Everything I hear is that it's atrophied.
Yeah, look, it's not in the strongest spot it's been. The money hasn't been there, but I'll tell you this, National Democrats, Ken Martin knows we have to invest in Florida or Texas, or after the 2030 census, about 6 more electoral college votes will come to Florida and Texas from blue states. Democrats can't win the White House then. So we have to invest in and compete in Florida. But here's the most important thing about the Democratic Party. It's right on the values. We need an economy that lifts everyone, a government that serves its seniors, its vets, invest in public education, and a state and a party that lifts everyone up. The values are exactly right.
To the degree Floridians paid attention to you on television, they would have probably first classified you not as a former congressman, but as a aspiring pundit. What does being an aspiring pundit do to qualify you to be the next governor of Florida?
You know, look, not quite like you, but I've covered a lot of live breaking news, from gun shootings to impeachments to funerals to the inability to elect a Speaker of the House to the dysfunction in Washington and Tallahassee. I feel like it has made me sharper and stronger. More importantly, understood the human side of issues. The reality is I fell into TV because I was the only Republican at the time to stand up and call on Donald Trump to drop out of the race. I did that after he declared for the Muslim ban, but I went to the House floor to talk to Republicans. I declared my Christian profession of faith on the House floor. I said, the beautiful thing about me doing this is I can do it without a fear of reprisal. But if Donald Trump has his way in violating religious freedom in the country, none of us will have this opportunity. I think the president led us in the wrong direction. I'm proud of where I stood.
David Jolly, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.